gonna get you back for that. How's it going, everybody? Really? That bad? That's fantastic. I'm kind of envious of all of you. I gotta be frank. Like, I didn't get to listen to anybody's set coming out here because I've been rehearsing mine the entire time, which kind of bums me out. Like, I think learning about other people's families is fucking fascinating. You learn so much stuff about them that just sheds so much light on stuff you already knew. Like, for example, I had a buddy in middle and high school. His skin was a little darker than most, but hey, I grew up 30 minutes south of Canada. A gallon of milk was darker than a lot of people. So, had this friend, spoke fluent, beautiful, melodic Spanish. It was glorious. And I went over to his house once. Turns out this pale guy is full-blown Nicaraguan. Both sides, mom and pop, just a little deficient in the melanin department. That's something I never would have known. Or take me, for instance. I am half Italian. I don't speak Italian or anything, but I'm also half redneck, which means I had two sides of my family to disappoint when I lost my virginity to somebody who wasn't my cousin. Yep, you just sat through all that build-up for the lowest hanging redneck joke in the catalog. I feel like, though, of all the big Catholic and hillbilly broods out there, my family's the only one that would almost have an excuse for incest. Maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room. Like, okay, think about it this way. Imagine you got eyes for somebody. They're caring, they're intelligent, they're wonderful. It's written in the stars, all your friends are telling you to go for it. You've been dancing around each other since grade school. You got so much chemistry already, it's fantastic. Sunshine and rainbows, beautiful, beautiful. But, at the same time, you know in the back of your head that if you decide to flip society the bird and knock up your cousin, your kids will also be born with superpowers, able to fly and shoot lasers out of their nose. That's how my family got started. One of the Cantrell family heirlooms is a goddamn X gene, I swear to God. I don't know if one of our ancestors was some Florentine alchemist who discovered the secret to immortality, or maybe one of my grandparents stole fire from the heavens and bequeathed it to all his young. Whatever happened, nobody in my family ever passes away. We're a lot like rice. Like, sure, yeah, we're white and there's a lot of us. Get that out of the way. But also, yeah, we can get hit by a car or mauled by a wolverine or what have you. But if you just store us all at the proper temperature, where's that? We're not going anywhere. My grandpa, he's running 5Ks and he's 85. My great aunts, pick one. I got 17. They're all in the prime of their youth. There are pictures of me as a baby posing with my great-great-grandmother. A woman who was 31 when she got the ability to vote. How would that be for a 23andMe reveal? Well, it says here you got a predisposition to gluten intolerance. You're descended from Charlemagne and James Madison. And, oh, what's this little bit at the bottom? Oh yeah, you're fucking immortal! Jeez. And things like that, like, I am so glad that I have a reason, as somebody who's not predisposed to die of age anytime soon, to not listen to my family when they tell me I'm wasting my youth. Because, hey, I'm doing stand-up for free. That's kind of categorically what's happening right now. Which is a good perk to have, I gotta say. That is the number one thing that I hear at all these holidays and weddings and all the big gatherings like that. Well, at least it's the number one thing I hear that I can actually understand. Because I actually have a reasonably multilingual background. And I'm not just talking about the Italian side of my family. The trailer gremlin half of me speaks mostly fluent English. We got a little bit of Dutch sprinkled in there, like cloves in a pumpkin pie. A couple of them know how to swear at immigrants in Spanish, too. Which, I mean, that's all well and good, I suppose. Those are all actual languages that, with words that have ascribed meanings to them. I might be able to actually learn those if I felt like it. And a side note, if there's anybody out here tonight who can, like, speak and comprehend a tonal language, well fucking done. I do not understand how people can hold conversations where a random voice crack will completely change the meaning of your sentence. But goddamn, that was impressive. Good on you. And I bring that up because I think tonal language is the best way to loosely describe how my redneck relatives talk to each other in their natural habitat. Like, sure, English is the national language of the country that they love and have all been comfortably unemployed in for 30 years. But for one reason or another, that's not the language they speak to each other when they get drunk. And I'm not just talking about, like, throw a couple beers back with your friends in the backyard. No, I'm talking truly, deeply, hallucinatorily, Irish wedding in a frat house style hammered. What they do speak when that happens is the hardest to describe set of sounds I have ever heard in my life, but goddamn, I'm gonna try. Imagine a thick, chunky gravy made of consonants, barbecue sauce, and racism. All coming through a beard thick enough to support a human body's weight. That's all that they're saying, while at the same time trying to swallow a mouthful of Pabst Blue Ribbon. I've been listening to this kind of Duck Dynasties, it's got a nice ring to it, for going on 20 years, and I can still only vaguely tell you what they're kind of generally sort of talking about through heavy use of context clues. Like, for instance, I know that when my family all goes out to run errands, we will leave my uncles behind, we will set them all up in the living room, give them all their adult apple juice, put some football on the TV, keep them busy, make sure they can't hurt themselves. And I know that, given that setup, in a couple of minutes, I'm gonna hear this. TV. Second down, number 20. Bottle. Smash. Grandpa Earl. That desert monkey. Family comes back. We all start sitting down. We all get dinner prepped. We say grace. Grandpa Earl's hip breaks. Everything's going fantastic. We start passing the food around. One of my hippie cousins chimes in. You know, I just don't understand how anyone can support a government that's putting children in cages. Food! Plate! Whoosh! Injured Grandpa Earl. Job stealing caravan. It's okay. We just let him ride it out, give him a little bit of horse tranquilizer, tuck him into bed. We come back, we start passing out desserts. One of my other cousins brings out some naan bread that he got from his girlfriend's mom. We start passing it around, the smell of it fills the room and starts trickling into the bedroom. Bedroom! Thump! Door! Whoosh! Injured, hungover Grandpa Earl. Turban, go fucking slavery, apple pie diabetes. Those are the kinds of people I'm gonna have trying to give me life lessons on Thursday. Which, now that I think about it, is probably the reason I spent my entire life trying to find role models literally anywhere else. Like movies and comics and literature and video games and all that, and it's working out fantastic so far. Like, sure, Aunt Clara, go ahead and give me a speech about personal responsibility and how I can only rely on myself. Despite the fact that if we all stopped paying for your kidney dialysis, within 3 days you'd be in the hospital pissing through a tube.
Anger.
Yeah, there was a little bit of baggage with that one. Which is fantastic for me, but I've kind of had to wean myself off of having pop culture as a third parent lately. Because it's starting to come to my attention that the world of mass media does not give a fuck who I have as a role model or how I turn out in life. And that started to dawn on me when I saw the new Spider-Man movie. I just want to preface this by saying I love my mother. My mother is wonderful. She is this scrappy little soccer player who loves kittens and Jane Austen and is always looking for that new spice to ruin mac and cheese with. She's wonderful. I love her to death. She's fantastic. But she was working a lot when I was really, really young. So a lot of my development was left to the care of my other parent. And no, it was not my dad. He was out buying cigarettes at a 7-Eleven about 3 years away. He should be back any day now. No, my other parent when I was younger was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. For those of you who have never seen the movie, which I'm guessing was about 99% of you, yeah, most of that came from Aunt May. So for those of you who have not seen Spider-Man, imagine the human equivalent of a freshly baked chocolate chip cookie, where the edges are just curling inside so it looks like it's trying to give you a hug. That is Aunt May. She is the sweetest, kindest, most nurturing human being I have ever seen in reality or fiction. Like, you cannot be sad or anxious listening to her talk. It's impossible. I could listen to her actress read memoirs of Holocaust survivors and I'd still feel kind of good about the world. But times change. Series gets rebooted, new cast, new age, and who we got playing Aunt May this time? Sally Field. Mama freaking Gump! That is everything I judge a movie mom by. She's a little harder edge, life's not as idyllic as it was when I was 5, which is good, because now I'm in middle school and we got the real problems now. But nobody will have your back in the corner as regularly, and nobody makes a better apple turnover. Fantastic. 12 out of 10. Best mom, best mom. And then we got reboot again. And now we got Marissa Tomei taking the reins.
Woo!
Marissa Tomei is hot. Marissa Tomei is really goddamn hot. The paragon of my childhood ideals of motherhood and sweetness is now a 40-year-old MILF. This wasn't an accident. There's no way this was an accident. The kids who grew up on the original movie are now in their 20s. Some of them are having that sex thing I've heard about once or twice. Like, even the dweeb who's been yelling at you for the last 5 minutes in sweats and a Star Wars tee has been known to chase the tail once every couple of years. And now I gotta be careful because if I do, and I let my thoughts wander too much, I'm gonna start thinking about how I want to bone Aunt May. And the second those 3 words connect in my head and go into my cerebellum, erection just flies south for the winter. Balls go right back up to have a party with my lungs like, nah, we're good. Now, you said you're the one who said you wanted to fuck Aunt May. We're gonna come out with this less weird shit. Like, you're never gonna die of age and you don't get laid. What are you in a rush for? If any of you are on speaking terms with your moms right now, respect them and do not ever try to replace them with something. Because if you do, someone, somewhere, will make you want to fuck it. And on that note, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you for having me.